Hello, lovely friends. It's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums, today with another tarot spread video. Today I'm going to be talking about the spread that I found or saw inside of the 2026 Seasons of the Witch Planner by Lorriane Anderson. And so we're just going to kind of post this so that other people like me that like to have different sort of New Year like readings to kind of like do for their own personal development can try something else. So I'm going to kind of go through, show you guys a sample reading of this and kind of see how this goes as far as like bringing you some clarity for what to expect for the upcoming year. Now, this is going to be, since it is for the 2026 like calendar year, I kind of keep these sort of readings or like spreads in like my own practice to kind of use like for whatever year, especially if it's something like this where it has a lot of cards, a lot of different messages, and it isn't so solely focused on, you know, just like very specific energies, if that makes sense. So let's kind of get into it. This is called the Journey Begins spread, and I'm going to be using the Learning Tarot cards by Witchy Cauldron. I think it's a great deck for those that are still trying to learn, and especially when you're doing some of these larger spreads. I know it can be a little bit overwhelming and a little bit confusing as far as like, well, what does that mean for that position? So let's kind of shuffle these little guys. It's been a while since I have really done any kind of tarot spread video, and I only use this deck for like teaching and for these little tarot spread videos, since I don't have an opportunity to teach in person any longer on how to do like tarot, reading tarot, things like that. So I do miss it, but let's get into this Journey Begins spread and see how this kind of gives us some clarity for this upcoming year. So first card is going to be, what is the beginning of your story for this year? So here we have the Two of Wands card. I feel like it should be upright. All right, so for card number 2, what do you need to leave behind in 2025 is what we'll say, but whatever year it is that you're leaving. So here we have the Moon reversed. For card number 3, what area of life needs more what area of your life needs more clarity, refinement, or deeper understanding? So here we have the Wheel of Fortune. Card number 4 is, how does your higher self envision this year unfolding? Here we have the 10 of Cups reversed. We're going to put this kind of like there. Card number 5, how can you attract good fortune this year? We have the Star. Card number 6 is, what's one thing about your life that is healthy and does not need to change? We have the High Priestess. Card number 7 is, what is this year's North Star or guiding principle? We have the Lovers. Card number 8 is going to be, how can you create sanctuary for yourself when facing challenges? We have the King of Swords. And then finally, for card number 9 in the center is going to be, what is the highest expression of who you're becoming this year? We have Death reversed. Okay. All right. So here is our spread. Let's do a sample reading. I did not really have the intention of this actually reading me, but I guess these cards kind of do whatever they want, and they like to tattle on me. So let's kind of get into how I would read these cards and how they relate to the questions that I pulled for each of the positions of the spread. So card number 1 is, again, what is the beginning of your story for this year? So we have the Two of Wands, which is a card of choice, 2 paths, decisions, options, planning, grass is always greener on the other side, suddenly leaving, deciding to stay or go, waiting anticipation, restlessness, attachment, withdrawal, and wanderlust. So wands to me can really be a reminder of what we're kind of focusing on that kind of lights us up, what is inspiring us, what is making us feel like we're ready to kind of go out there. It's like getting that initial spark of life and really having to reflect on what that means for us as individuals and what we're trying to do with this energy. So with this being like, what's the beginning of the story here? It's interesting that the key word here is choice. I think that this last year for me in 2025 felt very much about just trying to kind of get through it and do what was necessary. And I feel like this year I would like to focus more on what am I choosing for myself? Am I actively going out and making decisions that allow me to feel more fulfilled in various areas of my life? And so I've been, and not to say like having an existential crisis, but maybe really thinking about what comes next and what that will look like or what that will entail, which can be kind of challenging, especially if, you know, you're really just trying your best to kind of like exist. So I feel like this is really significant of like where my mind is at with a lot of things. It's just this like, there's a little restlessness. There's a little bit of like that detachment of like, I just want to go off and do my own thing. I just want to have fun. I'm tired of being a responsible adult a lot of the time and having to make the best choice for everyone involved versus like doing things that maybe feel a little bit more centered around things that I love. All right, so card number 2 is going to be, what do I need to leave behind in 2025? So here we have the moon reverse, which is all about releasing fear, unveiling secrets, anxiety, truth, self-deception. You know, the moon can be very much this sort of energy of like not really seeing things quite so clearly. There is a shadow element. There's something that needs to be confronted with the energy of the moon. So this being like what I need to leave behind in 2025, I think it's very apt. So I think that this is really saying I need to kind of let go of this sense of trying to hang on too tightly to things, which is very much, I feel like, how I kind of operated in this year. Not to say I was like operating out of fear, but I really wasn't allowing me to just kind of go with the flow and enjoy things quite as much. I've been very much about kind of getting to the root of a lot of things in my life, trying to get to the truth of things. And I think it's kind of saying like, I got to kind of let that shit go. Like, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I guess like stressing myself out to try to have like a sense of like justice over everything that's happening outside of my control maybe is something that is just it's been detrimental to who I am and like what I've been doing. And so maybe again, not feeling like I have to confront everything, maybe not being so deep in like my own shadow of like what I'm doing and what I need to fix and, you know, all of these different emotions and things that I've been really focusing on. I think that this is kind of saying like, we got to let this behind, you know, like I may not know how things are going to look in the future, but my intuition is kind of taking me where I need to. And it's essentially just like one step at a time and not having to be, I guess, so focused on like overall what that means in so many different ways. All right, so let's get into card number 3. So what area of your life needs more clarity, refinement, or deeper understanding? So here we have the Wheel of Fortune, which is a card of good luck, destiny, chance, decisive moments, cycles of life, fate, fortune, you know, gambling, and really having an understanding that, you know, I'm riding the waves of life. I think that this is very significant, as I do tend to kind of be overly cautious when things are going smoothly, or when things are kind of going a particular way, or when things kind of fall into place that are very beneficial for me. The last few years have been challenging for various reasons, personal challenges, emotional challenges, spiritual challenges. It's been a huge learning experience. And I feel like with the Wheel of Fortune here, where it's like, hey, I need to be more clear about the things that are happening and why they're happening, and not take it as like it's always punishment, it's always challenging, it's always hard. So maybe I just need to be a little bit more understanding that sometimes good things do happen, and it isn't like, I have to wait until these things are like removed from me, or always kind of waiting around for like something bad to happen, if that makes sense. So I think that is very much a lesson that I have struggled with in the last several years, and I'm trying to be more receptive to it, because it's so much easier for us to focus on the bad or the things that didn't come together the way that we had anticipated, versus like looking at all of the things that have kind of gone our way in order for us to really be where we are. So card number 4 is, how does your higher self envision this year unfolding? So here we have the 10 of Cups reversed, which this is typically a card of like happiness, family, lots of love, everyone coming together, fun. And I think it's kind of interesting. I don't know if I didn't even check to see if this is how I wanted to pull these cards. So let's kind of check and see if this is the intended message. I'm getting a no. All right. So it's meant to be a 10 of Cups upright. You can always kind of double check. And again, I always tell people, when you're pulling your own cards, don't feel like you can't pull extra cards as a clarifier. Even if we look at it as like, okay, I pulled it reverse, so maybe my higher self is, again, a little bit more of, I don't have a lot of clarity on allowing myself to be as happy and to have fun and abundance and domestic bliss or whatever. So we can pull a clarifying card, which is Judgment. All right, so how does my higher self envision this year unfolding? So first I got the 10 of Cups reverse. I feel like it should be upright. And so this is talking about happiness, gatherings, long-term relationships, stability, security, harmony, basically everything really coming together because of your hard work, dedication, and really allowing yourself to kind of feel into things. Now, the clarifying card that I pulled, and I don't know if I've explained clarifying cards for those, but if you're already someone that's like using spreads, a clarification card is literally that. If you're confused about a message, or you're not sure if the message that you're receiving is in alignment with the question that you asked of the card or whatever, pull a clarification card. So here we have Judgment, which is about awakening, renewal, composure, like that final reckoning, forgiveness, what you sow, you reap. There's a choice that will change my life for the better that needs to be made. And we can even look back at the original message of what's the beginning of your story for this year is choices. And here we have, how is my higher self envisioning this year unfolding? We have Judgment and the 10 of Cups. So I may have to make some choices that allow me to move a little bit more into this energy, and can really allow me to focus on the happiness, the family, kind of moving a little bit more into that a little bit more. So there may be an awakening, so to speak, of like, okay, I have to let go of certain things. I have to kind of address certain things in order for me to get the clarity that I've been looking for. The sun's coming out now, so you might see a lot of sun kind of coming into my shot, but it is what it is. All right, card number 5 is, how can you attract good fortune this year? So here we have the Star. Now the Star is all about hope, recognition, inspiration, creativity, faith, tranquility, enjoyment, happiness, faith in the future. And so this is very much about, it's the universe is showing me that I can have faith in my dreams and the things that make sense to me. So I think that this is kind of saying like, I need to have that inspiration. I need to have that sense of hope. I need to stop being so focused on like what hasn't worked, what hasn't really gone the way that I had anticipated, what hasn't really been what I had desired, and be more in like that optimism, that sense of hope, that serenity, and allowing myself to be content with the things that I have and how they are coming into my life. So for card number 6 is, what is one thing about your life that is healthy and does not need to change? So here we have the High Priestess. So this is all about my inner knowledge, and allowing myself to be kind of guided by that. And it's all about the inner knowing, self-trust, spiritual insight, emotional stability, divination, esoteric wisdom and knowledge, the spirit guides, discovering your truth. So with this being, you know, something that is healthy and does not need to change, I won't lie. And I don't even know if I shared this in one of my other videos about these spreads, because these cards are always telling on me, is I've really considered just closing down my whole like reading website, basically, the shop and stuff like that. I've had some challenges with like feeling like I can connect. I've had some people that have kind of reached out to me about certain things, and it really made me reconsider what I was doing and if it was really being of service in the way that I had initially intended, which is all I've ever tried to do with doing readings, is that I really want to be of service and to be able to help people with gaining clarity and just really being able to learn that they too can be as intuitive and connected to themselves as I feel like I have been. So I think it's very interesting to kind of receive this card here, because I'm not gonna lie, I've really questioned it and said maybe next year will be like the last year that I offer anything. I'll delete all of the social media associated with it and things like that, because I just haven't really felt motivated to be present in that way. But it is such a big part of who I am that I feel in a lot of ways kind of mourned the loss of not having that outlet. So I think this is a beautiful reminder, because it's like, what's one thing about your life that is healthy and does not need to change is this more intuitive, like witchy side, I guess, so to speak, having that inner knowing. And because I feel like, you know, life can kind of beat you down sometimes, and you can be very like, what is going on? Why am I so confused about this? All right, so card number 7 is, what's this year's North Star or guiding principle? So here we have the Lovers, which is all about major choices, soulmates, temptation, being put to the test, kindred spirits, perfect unions, partnerships, relationships, romance, desire, sexual connections, shared values. So this is really talking about my personal value system is going to lead me to love. And I really like to look at the Lovers card as a card of aligning yourself with a life that you really love, and really focusing on what are the things that you have in your life that make sense. So this being like the North Star or the guiding principle for me, I think will be very beneficial, because when I am in this energy of doing things that I love, focusing on things that like excite me and make sense to me, everything seems to really just fall into place. Now, I will say the thing about partnerships is a little bit, I will say it makes me feel a little bit unsteady. This last year I had a lot of issues trying to find partnership for some of the things that I've been doing, and trying to find like that connection with others. So I won't lie, I am a little bit cautious about opening myself up to the possibility of having different partnership, or, you know, allowing other people to kind of come into what I'm doing, and trying to connect a little bit more in that way. So we'll see what this year brings, because at the end of the day, it does not matter what we feel like we're going to be doing in a year. Sometimes life just brings us these very interesting situations and circumstances that allow us to kind of move out of our own way, so to speak. All right, so card number 8 is going to be the how can you create sanctuary for yourself when facing challenges. We have the King of Swords, which is all about truth, structure, routine, rational, logical, power, authority, strength, manners, conversation, being detached, being discerning, head over heart, an unemotional, analytical sort of energy that can make balanced judgments and gives excellent advice. So with how can I create sanctuary for yourself when facing challenges, is that I need to maybe focus on the truth and cut away from the emotionality of how I feel I'm receiving certain things, especially when I have certain challenges. I won't lie, I can be a little bit more of like a person that makes like emotional decisions a lot of the time, where I just kind of am like, I'm at the end of my rope, and so I'm just gonna like do this thing. So it can be very interesting to kind of want to cut away from that and be a little bit more analytical, be a little bit more logical. Not saying that I can't do it, but I know for me a lot of the time it can be a little bit not the easiest lesson for me to get into. And finally, we have card number 9, which is what is the highest expression of who you're becoming this year. We have the Death card reverse, which is talking about an inability to move forward, fear of beginnings, repeating negative patterns, resisting change, and dependency. So this is interesting that this is the highest expression of who you're becoming this year, because the Death card is typically a card of like spiritual transformation, letting go, changing, endings, like willing to let go of like the past version of myself. And I don't feel like this is something that needs to be upright. What I would do is maybe pull another clarification card to just kind of see, because it's like the highest expression of who I am and who I'm becoming this year is maybe having a fear of new beginnings, things like that. It's interesting because 2026 is supposed to be a year of new beginnings and new lessons. So let me pull another clarification card for this question. So what is the highest expression of who you're becoming this year? Clarification on the Death reversed. We have the 5 of Wands reversed, which is compromising, end of conflict, struggle, reaching agreements, antipathy, setbacks, disagreements, and petty squabbling. So if the highest expression of who I'm becoming is literally talking about an inability to move forward, a fear of new beginnings, repeating negative patterns, resisting change and dependency. This is talking about I need to learn how to compromise. I need to end conflicts. I need to reach agreements. I need to look at like the setbacks. And this is going to be something that's really going to help me grow in a way. Now, no one wants to end a reading in a way that's like kind of tattling on you, so to speak, and kind of telling you like, hey, like you need to do some personal growth. But I think that this reading overall is really giving me a lot of clarity as far as like what I need to focus on for this year, and where I may have some things that kind of catch me, so to speak, and don't allow me to really live into what I really should be doing, if that makes sense. So I know if you've been watching any of these little videos that I do, you've probably seen me pull a lot of like these similar cards. So obviously these are lessons that maybe I'm continuously struggling with and that I need to kind of focus on. So I hope that this is a spread that you like using in your own practice. Let me know if this is a spread you've ever used. I think this is one I'll probably keep and use quite often, because I do like these questions. I do like the focus of this reading. And I really hope that 2026 treats you kindly. Thank you so much for joining me. Please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.